Hello again. This is Edgar Cabello, one of the leadership directors at Lippert with the Built to Lead podcast. We have with us today a couple of very special guests, Darious Jackson, who works in our offline axles at Plant 45 in Goshen, and Nate Polmateer, one of our leaders within axles as well. The reason I'm doing the introduction this way is because we were briefing one another for the recording, and the conversation just started. And rather than interrupting it to do the normal welcome, we just went with it. So what you're about to hear is it was pretty organic, and it was pretty powerful, quite frankly. And we just went with it. And so you're going to pick up right in the midst of a conversation that already had some momentum. And I think you're going to enjoy this really powerful story that Darius tells us of his troubled past and how he just absolutely chose to make an about face in his life and do it differently, do life differently. And the way that he came to us at Lippert is, honestly, it's not nearly as remarkable as his story, but man, are we grateful for the fact that we ended up crossing paths, and he continues to be a contributing part of our team every single day, and a leader, the kind of leader without a title, frankly, but a leader just the same. So enjoy this episode of the Built to Lead podcast. Again, my name is Edgar Cabello. I'm your host, along with Nate Polmateer, one of our leaders in Axles, and our very special guest, Darious Jackson.
You French now. You was raised by them. They came in their school system. You sound different. You look different. You talk different. So, he didn't want that. Like, to see his village, his grandparents, his mother. Everybody shunning him away. Like, it broke him down. So he was begging them, like, give me a chance to show you. You know what I mean? Give me a chance to show you. So they have what do you call it? Like when you, not ritual, but like. Not like an audition. What's another?
A ceremony?
Yeah, some a little deeper than that. Like he has to go through an initiation stage.
Initiation,
yeah,
right on.
Okay. He has to go through an initiation stage to prove himself. And part of the stage, like my favorite part, I won't go through because it was a long duration of time there. But the part that influenced me the most was they put him in front of this tree, and he's a grown man. He's an adult now, but all the other initiates are kids because I think at 12 is when they, get initiated into manhood. Yep. So 12 years old, all these kids, they standing in front of these trees and just staring at it. And the leaders of the village were like, tell me what you see. And they giving all these answers about what they see, but he can't hear anybody else's answers. So he the last one left. They keep asking him, and every answer that he give, they laugh at him like, he never gonna get it. He never gonna, he not one of us anymore. And finally, when he realized, when he seen, he just like broke down in tears and hugged the tree. But what he saw was a woman. He seen like the tree was alive and it was a female. And like that was touching to me.
Yeah. What is it about that?
Well, everything, it don't matter what we dealing with, but everything physically that you see is male and female. You know what I mean? Throughout the entire universe. Mm-hmm. So what I come to find, through my studies and people that influence me is like, of course, everything that's solid, that's matter, comes from thought and man building with his hands. But the thought is the beginning of it all. And the female, we all come from the female. So she should be the head of it all. But we come from a matriarchal system, so they push the female to the side, and it's just all, So it just gave me an interesting perspective, because I came from a matriarchal,
mom, right?
You know what I mean? And that was, that's just easy for me to see. Like,
right on.
That's one thing we all got in common. Like,
that's
we
deep,
all came from our mother. You know what I mean? We can
right.
start there, something simple, and then you can find other similarities that, bring us along. But yeah, I hold the woman in high regard, man.
When are you writing your book, man? Like, when are you writing your book?
When I got time.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's deep. I appreciate that. So you became a reader, and that really influenced your life in a powerful way.
Yeah.
Get a little bit closer there.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're good
Yeah, keep rolling. Yeah, just keep going then.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're gonna go ahead and suit up. Dude, you have me captured, bro. Look at that. I was like, I didn't know what I would get myself into today. Holy smoke, this cat's a philosopher over here. I want you to keep talking about your is there I love that story. What else are you hearing okay? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
you guys got me over there? What is it about the discipline of reading? You're doing time now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Got some time on your hands.
Mm-hmm.
You start just tearing through books.
Yeah.
What is it about reading and the discipline of reading for you?
I just got excited about like learning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because coming up, I feel like I was more conditioned. Like I was more programmed because I wasn't really interested in school. So I was just kind of like influenced by the people around me. And it was just like, you know, I can't really grasp anything from my early childhood that I learned that's still like stuck with me today from, because I didn't read much, you know what I mean? I'll go to school, but outside of school, it was no secondary education for me. That was it. Go to school, come home, and run the streets, you know what I mean? So when I actually sat down and started investing time and reading and just the excitement of learning something new, you know what I mean? That's where it started at. And then sharing it with other people, seeing how it, you know what I mean? Them get excited like, dang, you know, I never heard that, or I never thought of that. Where you get that from? And seeing how it impact other people, that became exciting for me. You know what I mean? So I just focused on that.
Were you having those conversations with the people that were around you, like during that time?
Be more specific.
So when you started to develop this habit and this discipline of reading.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in my mind, you tell me if I'm right or wrong. You're in the library, man. Like you're going after that next book, right?
Yeah.
And you're really eating this up. It's nourishing your soul.
Yeah.
And are you having conversations with the people around you at that time?
Yeah. I'll actually kind of join like a group.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because prison is very segregated. Very segregated. By the main one is race, and then once you break that barrier, it becomes segregated by, you know, people want to go, you know, the committing crimes don't stop once you're in prison. You know what I mean? It actually escalates. People start thinking they're smarter criminals and coming up with clever ways to create. So getting away from that, now, you know what I mean? Okay, I got this group of people I could go, you know what I mean? And they seem like, you know what I mean? They functioning all right when not being a part of the criminal lifestyle that I'm trying to get away from.
Right.
So I'll get invited to like a group like on Saturdays, and it's no title to it, so I can't like give you but they would go down and they would have a circle, like a men's circle, lay a topic on the floor and then build on that and then just kind of go from there. So I went and I was sitting in this men's circle and two men stuck out. It's probably about maybe like 5-6 guys that spoke the first time I went. Two of them, like everything they had to say, I was just like wow, you know what I mean? I need to, whatever they a part of, I need to gravitate towards that because there's two of the smartest men I ever heard in my life, you know what I mean? So that's how I started.
Okay.
I connected with them, and I was the youngest in the group. And at that time, I was probably like 21, 22. Wow. And I would go meet with them in the libraries, and they would, okay, read this. You know what I mean? Tell me what you think about this. Yeah. And it kind of started from there. And just to touch on like the connection that I had with them, I was walking the yard one day with the two men, and I'm like, I was just so thirsty for the information. Like, no, I want to talk about what y'all was talking about in the men's circle. But they want to pick and choose what type of information or what books they give me. But I know it's more to it, and I'm trying to hurry up and get to that. And one of the men, his name was Eli, and he told me, he said, just like, you're going to get it, just have patience. But just always be mindful of the people that's around you. You know, what you take in by your ears, what you take in by your eyes, always be mindful of it. And most importantly, always be mindful of what come out your mouth. because what you say is going to have an impact not only on the people around you or the things around you, but energy doesn't die or destroy. It just transfers. So what comes out your mouth, you don't know where it go or who takes it in. That's how important it is, and it could cause life or death. And he said, just always keep that in mind. You know what I mean? And that just like everything that they say, just pulled me in more and more and more and more and more and more.
So it sounds to me like you had some choices, right? You can continue to roll with the criminal element.
Yeah.
You could go with whoever, the people that work out, they're into fitness and all that. And I know you did some of that yourself, but it sounds like you kind of more gravitated towards the intellectuals and the philosophers.
Yeah. I feel like I met the means of an end with the criminal thing. The rate I was going, I put it in perspective like this. You go through school, kindergarten through 12th grade, right? It was a 13-year period. Like, I didn't do it right the first time. So I had to go back, and I did just short of 13 years in prison. So once that clicked for me, like, the criminal, it's either this or I'm going to be dead one day. You know what I mean? And I want more for myself. I want more for my family. They deserve more. I deserve more. So, like, it was just, this ain't the life for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? As much as I thought it was at that time,
yeah,
like, it became real clear. The things that was happening around me in prison, like the movies, it's not even close.
Yeah.
You know, to actually being there and seeing what's going on. I don't want this.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I'm here. I need to make the best of it.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, I need to be with people like this, those guys. You know what I mean? And that's what happened for me.
It's fascinating, man. That's spectacular. I applaud that. So you're growing up, little kid.
Mm-hmm.
I asked you a little bit ago, what was your first encounter with getting in trouble? So you kind of gave us like the middle part of your story, right? Because that's also in the past, but like, let's take it back just a little bit. We don't have to spend a lot of time there, but like you kind of got off on the wrong foot, like as a little kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take us a little bit through your growing up days.
Okay, growing up, I was raised by a single mother. My dad, I knew who he was, but he wasn't in my life. And it was just my mom, and I got 5 older sisters. And the one that's closest to me, we 6 years apart. So when I started going to school, kindergarten, she would walk me to school. My mom worked full time in the factory. And so she would be gone in the morning. So when I wake up in the morning, my sister would get me ready for school. We'll walk to school together. And after that first school period, hold on, let me tell this. This is crazy. All right, let me tell you what happened.
Okay.
Kindergarten. This is what my day looked like. My sister would wake me up, get me together, walk me to school. Now, back then, you only had half-day kindergarten.
Yep.
You either go in the AM or the PM. I went in the AM, so my sister could walk me to school. So she's at school a full day. My mom's at work full time. There's nobody to look after me. So what my mom would do was she would put together an envelope every morning. And the envelope had the exact amount of money it took for me to take a cab from my elementary school to daycare by myself, 5, 6 years old. You know what I mean? I had to take this envelope to the office. They'll call me a cab. And then I would get in the cab, give the cab driver the money, take me to daycare until my mom got off work. Every day as a 5, 6 years old. It was the most. I remember it was embarrassing.
I still don't trust myself to take a cab. Seriously, you do that at age 5.
So
wow.
Now the next school year, first grade, my sister's going off to middle school.
Yeah.
So my mom can't take me to school, and I just kind of clicked up with a group of kids from my neighborhood that would walk to school, and we'll walk to school as a group. And prior to this school year, I didn't have any relationship. It's just like some random kids that I know I go to school with from the neighborhood, and we'll walk to school together. But we would stop at a gas station every morning before school and get snacks. And they were stealing them. So naturally, you know, I started stealing them too. And I ended up getting caught out the group. And the worker at the gas station called the police. The police came and got me, took me downtown, called my mom. And It was probably one of the worst
That
beatings.
was not a good day.
Yeah, that was one of the worst beatings I ever got. And then took me to school after I got the beating. Like, you still going to school. And she went back to work. So that was like my first encounter.
So we're going to fast forward a little bit, okay?
Okay.
So this continues for you. Like, you're growing up, you're getting in trouble. Your first real encounter with the law then, in terms of like having to actually pay the penalty, happened right after you're a minor, right? You're 18 years old now. Talk to us a little bit about there, and then tell us about what happens next.
Okay. So 18 years old, this group of friends that I got, we've been friends for years. You know what I mean? We come up together. We're a pretty tight knit group. So they got a idea to start like robbing banks. And the friend that brought me the idea, like I said, been my friend for a long time. So, and it wouldn't be the first like thing wrong that we did together. So I'm like, man, if he ain't, you know, it ain't something that I want to do, but I feel like, you know, us being such a tight knit group, I don't want to be the one to let them down. And they so stuck on the idea. So I started entertaining the idea. And naturally, you know, it unfolded and we did it. And I ended up getting incarcerated. We got away with it initially. And I ended up getting incarcerated like 6 months later down the road. And
like after an investigation.
Yeah. And this was the first time I felt like I was by myself. You know what I mean? I'm not locked up with my friends. I don't have my mom. It's just me as an adult now. In a new environment with other adults, you know what I mean, who part of the same lifestyle that I was trying to be a part of. You know what I mean? So instantly it gets put in perspective for you really quick. Like, you don't make decisions for yourself no more. All the decisions being made for you. You know what I mean? And it's just like the energy in there is just, man, it's like, man, this is not where I want to be. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I'm still stuck on, I feel like this is all I know. It's the only option I have. So I got to get used to it. You know what I mean? I got to learn to adapt. I got to, you know what I mean? And that's what I chose to do initially up to that. So I was able to post bond. So I posted bond and got out initially. And I was out on bond for almost a year, for a while, before I had to go deal with the charges. And during that time, I still, like, it didn't click. I didn't sit down long enough. So I'm still feeling like in the moment, I don't want to be here. But after I got took out of it, it wasn't nothing. You know what I mean? I'm still caught on trying to be this dude, you know what I mean, and be with my friends, and we just, you know what I mean, out committing crimes, doing whatever. And so I ended up doing it again. Like, you know, after paying a lawyer, after bonding out, and then at this time, like, I'm paying my mom's rent, I'm doing everything for myself, I'm trying to hold the family down the best that I can. Like, it's just coming and going, so I decided to do it again. And we got away again the second time until I go to face the charges for my original case, my state case that happened. So when I go and get sentenced, I'm going in confident, thinking that, you know, I never been in any serious trouble before. I'm young, you know, maybe my lawyer, you know, they're some of the best talking people in the world. He made it seem like I wouldn't do a day in jail, you know what I mean, just to pay him. And I ended up getting sentenced to 8 years, which at that time, Indiana, you would do 50% of your time. So it was the 8 do 4. And I was right before my 19th birthday. And I just, like, I ain't gonna lie, seeing my mom for the first time behind, like, through a glass, it broke me down. You know what I mean? Like, I knew, like, seeing I let my mom down, that part of it, that was the only thing I was concerned about. Like, leaving my mom was just, like, the worst feeling in the world. But I knew, you know, this is what I gotta do, it's the road I gotta do. So I was just stuck on, hey, this who I am now. You know what I mean? And I was doing everything wrong in prison at first. Like, I was into drugs. Like, I was trying to sell them, make money. I was trying to use them. You know what I mean? I was getting into fights. I was like everything wrong. And all the way through that, my state sentence, like halfway through, 2 years in, the other bank robbery that we committed, that investigation blew up. One of my friends that was involved in that ended up committing another bank robbery with some of the other friends that I had that wasn't locked up. And there was a police officer inside the bank when it happened, and they got into a shootout with each other, and one of my friends died in that bank robbery. And one of the friends that survived just so happened to be the friend that I did the bank robbery with prior to. So he decided to cooperate with that case, and like blew the investigation open. So they brought more charges. So here it is. I'm thinking I'm on my way home to my family right before my 21st birthday, and they bring an indictment. So now, speed up a little bit. Like, I got, once I got sentenced and everything, I got another decade to do. And this time it's federal charges. So I got to do 85%. Then on top of that, you don't know where you're going to end up. In the BOP, in the Bureau of Federal Prisons, they can send you pretty much anywhere. You know what I mean? And you don't know until you go through your classification period and you on your way. Then they tell you. They don't tell you like ahead of time. And it's a whole nother ball game. Like, from the federal prisons to the state. Like, the state is like, the state facility I was at was like going back through school. It's like a bunch of immature kids, just whatever. The feds, I went because of the nature of my crimes. I ended up going to a maximum security federal prison, Terre Haute, Indiana, in 2010. And like, it looks like, I don't know if you guys ever seen them before driving past or whatever, but it looks like a military base. Just the look of it is intimidating, you know what I mean? And it was a new prison at the time, only a couple years old. And I remember the guard. This was one of those moments where I knew this wasn't for me. We on the bus ride in there, and the guard was like, "Hey, all you guys that don't know about Terre Haute," he said, "let me give you a little bit of advice. Get your paperwork," which is there's a list of things. When you go to the federal prison, they want to know who they dealing with. So you gotta have paperwork to show like about your case or whatnot. So the CO is telling you to get your paperwork and get you a knife. And I'm like, this is a CO, correctional officer, telling us, you know what I mean? We need to get this ain't. So I'm like, yeah, this playtime, it's over, you know what I mean? And I'm 21 years old going into this, and come to find out, the facility, Terre Haute at that time, was it was 85% of the people had life sentences there. And here I come with it. I had 10 more years added to my sentence, so I had 10 years basically to do, which was nothing. Those guys will do anything for 10 years, you know what I mean? So I'm like, man, I don't know what I'm about to do when I get up there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know nobody. None of the people that I grew up with is here. I don't even know nobody in the federal system. You know what I mean? It wasn't like the state. When I got to the state prison, I'm like, it was almost like a reunion. I knew so many people from my neighborhood, people I went to school with, people. So it was a sense of comfort there. But the federal, it was way different. Like, I was alone. So I'm like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. So when I get there, it's segregated by race pretty much. But within that, if you don't belong in a gang, you have to join like a card, they call it, which is basically like just a clique based off where you from. So since I wasn't a part of any gang, I hung out with the guys from Indiana, from the state of Indiana. But you got people here from all over the U.S. You know what I mean? Everybody's segregated by the state they come from. So I'm like, man, I don't know what, you know what I'm saying, what I'm about to do up in here. You know what I mean? So I asked the leader of that particular car that we got, like, man, you know what I mean? Like what's up? What? He's like, man, how old are you? Like, I'm 21. He like 21 years old. I'm like, yeah. He was like, yeah. Instantly let me know I was the youngest person there at the time. And he was like, man, what you do to get here, you know? So I'm explaining my charges and stuff, and he gave me a slip or whatever to get my paperwork in, so everybody, you know what I'm saying, could see what I'm in here for and all of that. And he could see like that I was uncomfortable. He could see like me being nervous and maybe like scared, you know what I mean, a little intimidated, like not really knowing what to expect, and he was like, man, I'm gonna be all right. You gonna be all right, you know what I mean? Like, one thing about this, man, we gonna take care of you. But me, I'm thinking about stuff I see on TV, like, you don't take care of me, like, you ain't about to do nothing to me, you know what I mean? In my head, like, I'm just real tense, on edge with everything, you know what I mean? I don't want to do nothing to nobody, and I'm not gonna let nobody do nothing to me. And that's kind of like the energy I'm giving off. And he was like, we gonna take care of you, like, we're not gonna let nothing happen to you. We're gonna do everything that we can for you to make sure you get up out of here, because you getting up out of here, unlike us. And it was like, because I ain't never had my dad, you know what I mean? And I didn't have no older brothers, no uncles, no nothing. I was raised by women. So, and it was exactly what he said it was. You know, it's an intimidating place, but they literally raised me. You know what I mean? Like, and it wasn't, once they seen, like, man, he not going to spend the rest of his life here. He's not trying to, you know what I'm saying, live a criminal lifestyle. Like, he trying to do what he got to do and get up out of here. And like, that's exactly what happened. Like, them dudes in that facility only spent two years there at the maximum before my security level dropped and I was able to go somewhere else. But them guys there, we spoke the other day about how I developed the means, like, put things in perspective for people real quick. They did that for me. You know what I mean? It's real simple. If you don't want to spend the rest of your life in something like this, then you need to fix yourself, because this is the result of the lifestyle that you live in. So if you don't want to do this, if you can't handle this, that's fine. You know what I mean? We gonna support you. We gonna help you, but you got to make the decision. You know what I mean? Because once you leave here, and I read this morning, actually, I looked it up before I came in here, the recidivism rate for people that get out of prison, and 700,000 people are released from prison every year. 7 million people are released from jails and, you know, other facilities. So over 7 million people basically are released from incarceration every year. And within a 3-year period, 2 out of 3 of them are rearrested.
Unbelievable.
And I just came up on my 3 years being out. So, you know what I mean?
You're beating the statistics.
Oh,
right,
yeah,
man.
I'm going to keep beating them.
That's right, man. I love that.
I'm going to definitely beat them.
So those guys, it's you had to go to prison to find your mentors.
Exactly.
And those guys helped redirect your life.
Exactly.
And help pull you out of that pit of crime and trouble that you'd been living in.
Yeah. Exactly. At that facility.
And then, but you still had a lot more time to do.
Yep.
I mean, especially for a young man, right? Because now you got, another 8 years in front of you?
Yep.
When you leave Terre Haute.
Yep.
You made a decision, though, I'm guessing, around that time.
Yep.
And you're just going to do things differently now.
Yep. That decision when I went to my next spot, which was actually still at Terre Haute, is just, Terre Haute has 3 compounds. You got the maximum security prison, you had the medium security prison, and then you had the camp. So I left the maximum security prison to go to the medium security prison. And at that time, like, anybody that goes through the federal system, they know the USP prisons, which is the maximum security, is the worst of the worst. You get a guy that come to a lower security prison from a higher security prison, automatically, you know, it's like he a rock star or something. Like, man, you just left the USP. Like, you know what I mean? People, it's weird, but that's the reality of it. So I had a platform within, because it's the same structure. When I leave the maximum to the medium, I still got the guys from Indiana that I'm a part of, just a different group of guys. You know what I mean? And some of those guys are, you know, like, oh man, he from the USP. Oh, he must be like real tough or something, or, you know what I mean, what you do to get there. You young, you know what I mean? Like, but I had a more calm, peaceful presence coming, like, because I had already made a decision in my mind, you know what I mean? So the platform that I have, I'm using it to try to almost instill like fear in them. You know what I mean? Like, that's not what you want, bro. Mm-hmm. Same way I just got to see it the first hand. You know what I mean? And that's not what you want. You know what I mean? You don't want to be in a place that you lock down in your cell 24 hours out the day for maybe half the month, because every week somebody's getting either killed or severely damaged. You know what I mean? You don't want that. You can't see your family. You can't call your family. You sit in the cell like getting wet bologna in a bag that falls out before they even hand it to you. Like, you don't want that for the rest of your life. I'm trying to break, you know what I mean, that thirst for that lifestyle that they want. You know what I mean? By my experiences, using my experiences to share with them. And it works sometimes, and other times it's like, oh man, he a chump. He ain't trying to, you know what I mean? And that's the approach that I came with the new facility, which led me to a new group of guys to network with. Yeah. You know what I mean? And once people see your, like, you being authentic, once people seeing, you know, okay, you want to go that route and you standing on it, and that's who you is now, it almost become like, dang, you know what I mean? Look who he is now compared to, you know, who we thought he was. The change. Once people see that change, they want it. Right. They just afraid, you know, to ask for it, or afraid to, like, how do I get, you know what I mean? And I'll try to be that leverage, that medium point for them. Like, man, listen, nobody's gonna judge you for wanting to, you know, better for yourself. And if they do, why you want to be around them? Yeah. You know what I mean? Ultimately, that's the goal. It's easy to go over there, or it's easy to spend the rest of your life in prison. Just keep doing what you do, or do more of what you're doing. And it's, but
so you have a platform now, and you're kind of carrying this. Now you're still a very young man. You're still a young man as we speak. But you know, now you're carrying this message because you got a responsibility. You feel, right? You've been exposed to something. You're like, that's the last thing you want, man. I've been around the block. Hook up with this new group of people. Start to go deeper, learning about yourself. It sounds like there's a good bit of self-discovery that's going on now, right? Mm-hmm. You're reading. You've got some mentors in your life. You're starting to feel a new direction happening. What starts happening in your mind's eye as you are changing and going through this transformation?
I ain't gonna, man. I started feeling indestructible, man. Like, everything that I was afraid of, I just started attacking it. But it was only from, like, a book. We books, like you was kind of saying earlier. Like, everybody got their own story, and your experiences, if you sharing with me, can potentially be life-saving for me. You know what I mean? Or maybe not for me, but somebody I know. Sure. Because I can share your story with whoever, you know what I mean? And just that little bit of information is life. It can save somebody, you know what I mean? So that's what I do. I bury myself in, because it's only so much I can tell you about my life prior at that point. You know what I mean? I did the same things that you guys were doing to get here. That story gets old. So the only way for me to get a new story and new information and share and help people is to read. You know what I mean? I have to get other people's experience. I have to get information that maybe they've never heard of before to try to intrigue them and draw them in. And I was seeing the fruits of that. I was seeing not only in myself, when I pick up the phone and call my family, or if my family come to see me, they just like, wow, you know what I mean? The transformation.
Yeah.
And I like seeing that in other people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's became addictive.
Yeah.
And that's...
I love that. I really do. Like, I think that the depth that I'm hearing and feeling from you, man, like as we're having this conversation right now, I'm getting a understanding of what's rooting you and anchoring you in your life these days. And I think that whole idea of reading, that's why, we talked about it in terms of the discipline of reading, and then it becomes a hunger, and then it becomes a thing that just like you become almost dependent on it. And I think the wisdom in it is the voice of many mentors then is spoken into us when we take it in and when we willfully go down that path. So I love what you're saying, because I think that sets you up to be that person for others. That's what I hear you describing right now. I want to switch gears here for a minute, okay? Right. I want to kind of speed up current state. So this is Nate over here. Everybody's like, what's that guy doing sitting there? It's just like, that's Nate Polmateer. Nate's your leader, right? One of the leaders on the Axle group over here. Nate, just tell me, so we're hearing his story, like his life story over here, man. Like, tell me, how do you put the pieces together? Like when Darius is kind of coming into the mix here, knowing what you know about what his past is, now the way that he interacts with his team. I'm just curious to get your angle on how these things all fit together.
He's an influencer, so he's the guy that we can count on to really lead the people in a different kind of way than what we can. So, the talk with them versus how we talk to people, it's entirely different. So, it really helps, probably more than what he realizes, and we really couldn't do it without him.
Yeah.
He's a big piece of the puzzle, that's for sure.
So what else? What else? How does he model this? Because I've heard other things about Darius, from other people around here, and like this dude's one of the most reliable people we got. So just describe what it's like to work with this guy.
Oh, it's great. I mean, he's here every day. He gets along with everybody, and he gets along with them in a different way, like I said, than we can. He knows them. He knows the people just as well, if not better than us do as leaders. So
yeah, that's fantastic.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So tell me about Axle Work, man. Like you've obviously chosen to invest here. I like the story that you told me when we first met about like how you got here. Because you went into incarceration at a very young age.
Yeah.
So you came out like.
Yeah, I came out. I was 30, right before my 32nd birthday, 31, and like I said, I spent my entire adulthood incarcerated, so I didn't have any work experience. The people that I knew and grew up with who was in the workforce, like I didn't have any communication with them while I was locked. So I didn't have nothing to come home to, like no type of security as far as the workforce go. So I was just like, man, I gotta provide for myself. I'm a grown man, you know what I mean? And I got all these ideas in my head of what I want to do, but it's a process getting there. So getting into the workforce, I'll start filling out applications. And I probably filled out close to 10, applied to like 10 different places. And all of them, it was the same thing. Like I could never put anything in the work history part. Even, communicating with the person doing the interview, or I'm handing my application into, well, you think you can do this or do, and I gotta give an honest answer. Yeah. Like I'm willing to learn. It's the only thing that I can, and I knew that incarcerated. I knew I was coming home to that, and that was another motivating factor to me. If I don't have work experience, I gotta at least make myself presentable and be able to have a conversation with anybody about almost anything. You know what I'm saying? Just being able to do that, and I work real hard on that. So I applied to all these different places, no luck. And I was starting to feel the pressure, like, I got to provide for myself, you know what I mean? And if I don't get in this way, it could trigger me back down, you know what I mean? As bad as I don't want it to, and it's a reality, you know what I mean? So I'm like, man, I got it. So I took a leap, and I jumped on Facebook, social media. Which is new for me, because as long as I've been locked up, I got locked up before smartphones and all that. I don't
whole new world now.
Yeah, so I jump on Facebook and I'll just make a post about Like, hey, you know, anybody that know me, anybody like I need a job, you know what I mean? Anybody can help me out. And Phil Kurtz, the HR here at Lippert, on nights, he reached back. And I remember Phil from school too, but he went to Central, but I remember him from, he was like, man, look, he said, I come in, I can't promise you nothing, just come in for an interview, and it's night shift, you know what I mean? And we'll go from there if you're willing to come in. And I was like, I'll be there. You know what I mean? This is it. You know what I mean? If it's either this or nothing, you know? So it really didn't matter. I just knew this is what I had to do.
Yeah.
So when I get here, you know, Phil, he was great, man. He already knew a little bit about my situation. And he was, don't worry about none of that. You know what I mean? It's a new page for you. I'm just giving you the opportunity,
right.
But you got to put the work in. You know what I mean? Don't let me down, basically. You're not worried about that. So when they take me on my tour, Cruz took me on my tour. Okay. Yeah, Cruz took me on my tour and showed me around. And he was like, "You see anything that you would?" I'll just see these big machines and all like everybody. It looked crazy to me because I've never been on the production floor or nothing before. Okay. I've never been in a factory before, so I'm like, bro, just wherever you need help at, man, put me there. You know what I mean? Train me, and I'm gonna give it my best shot. You know, that's all I could say. He's like, of course, he sized me up. You know what I mean? And he's like, I know where you'll fit at, and that's how I got the offline torsions. And it was. I was excited to be doing something new, but at the same time, it was challenging, man, because prime example, and I'll joke about this with all the new guys coming in. When you fill out an application, they ask you if you know how to read a tape measure. Of course, everybody say, yeah, everybody think they know how to read a tape measure. You think you just take a measurement, and so that's what I did. Like, yeah, I know how to read a tape measure. But when it's time to take two different measurements, find the difference, and now it's, whoa, hold on. I didn't know, you know what I mean? This is part of reading the tape measure, so. But I gotta learn. It's the position that you want me at. And one thing about me, like, I don't like not being able. Like, if I start to do something, I don't like being outdone. I'm competitive. You know, I got that competitive spirit. So I gotta get this, man. I'm gonna do it. And I took the tape measure home, and I never told. Like, I think I told Brad before, but I don't really tell too many people. But I really didn't know how to read the tape measure. I took the tape measure home, and I was just measuring stuff. And I'm like, man, how do you? And I literally taught myself by just taking the tape measure home and dealing with the tape measure. Came back to work and got that part down, and I started falling in love with it. Once I started seeing, like, man, it ain't as hard as I thought. When you apply yourself, it's not really as hard as I thought. And then, you know, people noticing too, like, man, you getting to just building confidence and keep going. I start liking it. And it's just being able to share that, what I learned with other people who coming in on the new, trying to train them, and seeing, like, man, seeing them catch on and get it. It's fun. It's addictive, you know, with that. But the physical demand of the job, I was loving that. Yeah. You know what I mean? I was getting paid to work out.
You get paid to work out. That's a great attitude. Don't you wish more people had that attitude, getting paid to work out? No, man, listen, your story is quite powerful. It really is. And, like, I guess Nate, I want to give you an opportunity to speak to it too, just in terms of what you're seeing in him these days, if you would. But let me just say this, man, like, I don't mean to sound condescending in any way, but we are very proud of you, man. Like, just the choices you've made and the way that you have crafted your life and rewritten your story. I applaud that, man. So thank you for sharing that with us. What a great lesson for all of us as we listen to you to just make something of a really bad situation. And I have so much respect for that. But the idea of the way that you've rewritten your story, man, and how reading and some of those early voices, it's really quite powerful. So thank you, Darius. I don't know what, Nate, I want to give you one more chance to kind of speak into this before we close this up. But What do you see going forward for this young man over here? I mean, we got a view of like he's a student of what you guys are doing. You guys are making axles, and like this dude's measuring everything at home. Like he's studying on his own and becoming an expert, like all by himself. I mean, what do you see going forward?
I mean, he's definitely got the potential to be, in leadership. He definitely already is now. I mean, it doesn't take a title to be a leader, and people follow him. He probably doesn't know it, or maybe he does, but people definitely watch what he does and listen to what he says. The sky's endless for him. I remember previous leadership talking about him, how give me a quick bit of his story and how he exceeded everything that they've ever expected out of him, and it's awesome to work alongside him, and I'm lucky enough to. So
yeah, man, that's awesome.
He's definitely a guy we can count on.
I was thinking the same thing. Like you really don't need a title to be a leader. If being a leader is indeed influence, then I think you recognize that a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Any final thoughts, man? Like what's the last thing that's on your mind as we kind of wrap this time up together?
Yeah. First, I just wanted to say, you sitting here thanking me. I want to thank the company, Lippert, just for the opportunity. Like, cause I really came home to nothing. You know what I mean? Like I was literally maybe a couple days away from it being real bad for me. You know what I mean? So I've always felt like that sense of loyalty through whatever adversity I had here, through the company, whatever. I never really wanted to give up on it. I pushed through it. You know what I mean? Based like my loyalty. You know what I mean? And so I want to thank the company and the people within the company who gave me that opportunity. And final thought though, to sum everything up, I want to leave with this for listeners, anybody, just to show how a little bit of information can save somebody. Now, the bank robbery happened because my mom, we had a roof over our head and we had food. That was it. You know what I mean? So I always wanted money. I thought money was everything. I always wanted money. I wanted a lot of money. As an 18-year-old kid, I came across from the bank robberies and everything what I felt like was a lot of money, six figures, right? And I got it the best way that I knew how to get it at that moment because I didn't have any information. I didn't have the right education. I didn't have the right people showing me, you know what I mean, how to get legitimate money. And with the information that I acquired throughout the incarceration, it's funny that I put myself in that type of situation where it could have cost me my life, for six figures. When now, with the opportunity Lippert gave me, with the right people around me, learning how to build credit, how important credit is from not even knowing what credit was. You know what I mean? Well, I could walk in the bank today and they would give me the money.
Yeah.
They give me the money. There you go. You know what I mean? Like it literally, it's that easy.
Yeah.
But I didn't have the information.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's what I want to leave.
And it's interesting you just put it that way, because not all of us have the frame of reference that you do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so to hear your angle on that little bit of information, that one thing that you share could be life or death for somebody,
Mm-hmm.
that's the world that you come from. And it is a reality for all of us, whether we know it or not.
Mm-hmm.
We may offer that to somebody, and it might be life-saving. We're just not aware of the situation. And so I appreciate that angle, man, and definitely your insight on so many things. As a very young man, you're very wise, and we're just really, really grateful for that. And friends, when we talk about business being a force for good, this is kind of what we're talking about. I would say it is indeed what we're talking about in terms of like the support system that you found here. You got another chance, without a work background, but we truly do our very best. We're not unlike a lot of businesses out there. We're not saying good things don't happen at other businesses. They do. We acknowledge that. I'll tell you what we're good at though here at Lippert. We do this on purpose every day. Every day we do this on purpose. And I would say probably all of us in this room are somewhat proof of that. But we're really proud, man, just again. And thanks so much for sharing your story. So, folks, as we wrap up, just want to remind you once again that as part of our journey in terms of our leadership transformation, we're happy to come alongside you in any way possible. If you want some more information, you can email us at academy@lci1.com. Again, I'm Edgar Cabello, one of the leadership directors here at Lippert with Darius and with Nate. Thanks, guys, for joining me today. We'd be just honored if you would share this podcast with somebody, maybe somebody that needs to hear Darius's message. And we would greatly thank you for that in advance. Thanks so much for joining us.